No matter why you're doing it, the process of sending money overseas can seem complicated. In this video, we're going to show you how to send money to Australia, work out the cost, and make the whole thing easier and more affordable. When you're transferring money to someone in Australia, there are 4 things you need: the account name of the person you're paying, their account number, their BSB, and the bank's SWIFT code. Now, you'll only need the BSB if you're transferring to an Australian dollar account, which means you might not need it if you're transferring to a foreign currency account in Australia. The process can be full of hidden costs, but once you know what these are, you can work out how much your transfer will be. You need to look out for the exchange rate, the fees for making the transfer, and the fees for receiving it. Exchange rates can be confusing for 3 reasons. Firstly, they change all the time. Secondly, every company will offer different exchange rates. And thirdly, you need to be careful of how it's quoted. There are a few fees you need to watch out for. The first one is the transfer fee. Some companies don't charge a transfer fee, but when they do, it's generally fixed or a percentage of your transfer. The second fee can be harder to spot. It's in the exchange rate they offer you, which is why the rate you get for your transfer is usually not what you'd see on Google or XE. Finally, there is the fee for receiving the payment. We looked at major Australian banks and found that this fee could be anywhere from 10 to 20 Australian dollars. Now, this fee is out of your control, but it's still important to find out what it is and whether you or the person you're paying is going to cover it. Now that you have the information you need, let's have a look at ways you can send money to Australia. You can use your bank, but they can be expensive because of their large margins and high fees. This is where money transfer companies come in. It's essentially your alternative to using a bank. These are companies that specialise in making transfers from one country to another. They offer safe and quick transfers and are almost always cheaper than your bank. There are lots of money transfer companies to choose from, and the best one for you will depend on 3 factors: how much you're sending, where you're sending the money from, and how quickly you need it sent. Let's have a look at some options based on your transfer size. If you're making a transfer of less than $10,000, you'll want to look for a company that doesn't have a minimum transfer amount and doesn't charge fees. Good options here include TransferWise, XE, or WorldRemit. Now, if you're making a transfer of more than $10,000, you want a company that gives you competitive rates. Both OFX and WorldFirst are good here. Just look out for their minimum transfer sizes, and remember they might charge a fee if you're transferring less than $10,000. Finally, if you're making a really big payment of, say, more than $50,000, it's really the rate you want to focus on. Here, we'd be comparing the rates of multiple companies so that you can find the best deal. Now, once you've decided on who you'd like to use, you'll need to go to their website to set up an account. Depending on the company, you might need some ID and proof of address. Then, when your account is set up and verified, you'll be able to fill in the details of who you're paying. This is where you'll need the account and BSB numbers we discussed at the start of the video. Once all the details are done, you'll need to pay for your transfer. Every company is different, but common options include bank transfer, debit, or credit card. The person you're paying will generally receive the payment in 2 to 5 business days. The best way to decide on the company for you is to compare the total cost of the transfer. You work this out by looking at their fees, the exchange rate, and the amount you're transferring. Now, this can get a bit complicated, so a comparison table can be pretty handy. With our comparison tool, you tell us how much you're transferring, and we'll compare the rates, fees, and total cost for you with multiple companies, and rank them from cheapest to most expensive. From there, you can then read reviews about the companies, learn how to make a transfer with them, and go to their site when you're ready. With rates, fees, and so many other factors to think about, sending money to Australia can seem complicated, but it doesn't have to be once you know what the costs are. Remember that while your bank can be handy, there are other options that are a lot more affordable. The easiest way to find the best option is to use a comparison tool like ours, which will allow you to compare the rates of large, reputable, and secure money transfer companies in one place.